It's Monday, August 5. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The members of the upper house who will form part of the Joint Select Committee to examine the sexual harassment bill were appointed during Friday's sitting of the Senate. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Pernell Charles Jr. made the announcement.
Be it resolved that this Honorable Senate appoint a special select committee comprising the following members: Senator Cavan Gale, CD, Senator Dr. Sophia Longmore, Senator Carencia Morrison, Senator Donna Scott Motley, Senator Sophia Fraser Binns, to sit jointly with a similar committee appointed by the House of Representatives to consider and report on the bill shortly entitled the Sexual Harassment Act 2019.
The establishment of the committee will serve to ensure that the legislation is put in place expeditiously. Tabled in the House of Representatives on July 9, the bill seeks to protect all women and men from unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and crude sexual behaviors that affect quality of life by creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment. The bill addresses concerns about sexual harassment that is employment-related, occurring in institutions or arising in the landlord and tenant relationship. Despite just released data showing poverty increasing in Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says citizens have much to be thankful for as the government gets ready to celebrate 57 years of independence. His comments, taken from a pre-independence church service, noted that the annual inflation rate is at a low of 4.2%, and the consumer price index is trending downwards. Mr. Holness says our credit ratings are positive and Jamaica's foreign exchange reserves are historically high. A document tabled in Senate on Friday revealed that the number of Jamaicans living below the poverty line inched up to 19.3% in 2017. The issue was highlighted by opposition senators as they quoted from the recently tabled Ministry Paper 51.
The report informed that in 2017, the economy grew by 1% and registered an increase in the number of people employed by 26,200 by July 2017.
You accept that part, don't you?
And then it continued.
You accept that part?
But despite the positive outturn, the overall poverty rate increased by 2.2 percentage points to 19.3 compared to 17.1% recorded in 2016.
You accept part for the paragraph, you know?
Due to increases in the Kingston metropolitan area, KMA, and other towns. Mr. President, the report from the Prime Minister and matters from Cabinet continued. The report further informed that the regional poverty rates were 17.1% for the KMA and 20.1% in other towns and rural areas, respectively. The overall increase in poverty reflected regional increases of 5.2 percentage points in the KMA and 4.1 percentage points in other towns.
However, the Prime Minister says the government is moving decisively to address several matters such as the environment, corruption, public safety, law and order, and security. He says he is confident that Jamaica will see greater achievements and improvements. Work is underway to draft amendments to the Firearms Act that will ascribe executive authority to the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA. It is anticipated that the amended Firearms Act will be tabled during this parliamentary year. That's according to the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. As he closed the 2019-2020 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on July 31, he noted that much work has been done in drafting the new Constabulary Force Act, which will provide the framework for Jamaica's modern intelligence-led police service. Meanwhile, the minister said primary legislation for the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA. The MOCA Act was passed in 2018.
We have applied serious work to the finalization of the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency regulations. We are working assiduously to have these regulations approved to ensure full operationalization of MOCA by October 2019.
He added that given the capacity constraints and the urgency with which these regulations are being treated, a full-time consultant has been contracted to provide additional support.
But even in its current state, work on MOCA has been significant. There's currently, despite of some of the narrative out there, 321 cases, anti-corruption cases before the courts, and 7 major cases awaiting the recommendation of the Department of Public Prosecution at this point in time. That's what MOCA has been doing in spite of the impairment. The case will come. It may be of note they have one major case involving a municipal council that's currently before the courts. Of interest to watch how it is operated, because this is the kind of work that MOCA does. Bear in mind, Mr. Speaker, that corruption cases has to be taken to court when the investigation is complete and thorough, because we're dealing with reputational issues, and if you move too quickly, you may be in trouble.
Dr. Chang said that MOCA is actively pursuing these cases throughout the length and breadth of Jamaica to ensure that justice is served. The People's National Party PNP is calling for the appointment of several policing chiefs to be subject to approval from Parliament. These are the heads of the Constabulary, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, and the National Intelligence Bureau, the NIB. It was among the recommendations made at the party's crime summit last week. In a statement containing Dr. Phillips's speaking notes from the summit, he says efforts for tracking crime must be collective, sustainable, and lawful. He also promised to compile a full report of the talks to share with members of the government. Repairs have been completed on the Spanish Town Hospital ward where it was recently closed due to termite infestation. Sections of the roof were compromised. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton told the press recently that work is being carried out on 4 other wards at the hospital, which are also infested by termites. He expects normality to return within 2 months. Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, has removed a wall of fame which featured former cabinet ministers REID and Dr. Andrew Wheatley among the honorees. In a recent media report, some parents of students at the institution had raised concerns about the names of former cabinet ministers being among honorees. Mr. Reid and Dr. Wheatley both stepped down during scandals relating to their portfolios. In a statement, CMU said it notes the parents' concerns about the Wall of Fame, which was installed last year at the university's FESTA authorized and certified training fact center. It says the University Council instructed that all tiles be removed until further notice. President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, heads a list of overseas dignitaries for the 67th staging of the Dembi Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show. The event is taking place from August 4 to 6 at the Dembi Showground in Maypen, Clarendon, under the theme, Grow What You Eat, Eat What You Grow, with the sub-theme, Aligning Farming Decisions with Climatic Conditions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness will host President Kenyatta and his delegation at Dembi on Tuesday, Independence Day. President Kenyatta will be paying a state visit to Jamaica from August 5 to August 7. Broadcaster Tony T.Y. Young, whose career in radio included career-defining stops at the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation and KLAS Sports Radio, died Saturday at the University of the West Indies. Young had been ill for an extended period, but no cause of death was given at press time. A graduate of Calabar High School, Young got his start in radio in Ocho Rios at Radio Northeast, which was then a JBC affiliate. Young came to prominence at the JBC as host of the Tony Young Show before moving to KLAS. He also had a 4-year stint at Roots FM as chairman, after which he returned to KLAS. In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago's Parliament has unanimously approved the controversial Bail Amendment Bill 2019. The bill will make it harder for persons charged with serious crime to get bail. We get more in this TV6 report.
The passing of the bill will now mean that bail can be denied for 120 days if someone has a previous conviction for a serious offense and is then charged again for another offense. Bail will now be restricted if someone is charged for a serious offense, is out on bail and gets charged for the same category of offense. Offenses where bail can now be denied and carry a penalty of 10 years imprisonment under the various acts are Offenses Against the Person Act, Sexual Offences Act, Anti-Terrorism Act, Dangerous Drugs Act, Kidnapping Act, Sexual Offences Act, Sexual Offences Against a Child Act, and Trafficking in Persons and Firearms Act. Previously, persons arrested for a serious crime could plead not guilty and would be entitled to bail and be back on the streets. The burden of proof has now been shifted to the offender, who will now have to prove exceptional circumstances why he or she should be granted bail. The Commissioner of Police in previous statements to the press showed his support for the bill, saying that he believes that someone who has been arrested for possession of an illegal firearm should not be granted bail. Speaking with TV6, the Commissioner said that as soon as the bill becomes law, he will be acting immediately to ensure persons found in possession of illegal firearms are behind bars. Attorney General Faris Alwari, speaking after the passing of the bill, said he is seeking to have the bill made law as soon as possible. This will mean having the President assent to the bill and then proclaiming it law. The bill has a sunset clause of 3 years.
The Cayman Islands data protection law will be in full force in 2 months' time. The law will regulate the future processing of all personal data in the Cayman Islands, and the Ombudsman will have the responsibility to enforce the law to protect people's personal information. Cayman's 27th Carolina Lopez gives us the breakdown.
Deputy Ombudsman Jan Liebars says his team is ready to take on the task of protecting people's personal information.
Establish the facts and draw conclusions and see if there was any violations of the law.
The data protection law was passed 2 years ago. And now, with regulations in hand for the end of September, if a company is found misusing personal data, they can be fined up to $250,000 or even face prison time. Mr. Liebars says a person can bring a complaint to the Ombudsman's office, or an own-motion investigation can be launched.
That could be a particular business or a particular organization, or it could be a whole industry. Then we actually have the power to go in and to investigate that as well. So there's also there's a reactive part to doing enforcement.
Mr. Liebars says everyone will need to pay close attention to the collection and use of personal data from now on.
You know, certain things need to remain private, that we all have public lives, we also have private lives, and so there's no discussion about how valid that principle is.
The Ombudsman's office says it is expecting a significant number of complaints once the law comes into full force.
A High Court judge has ruled there is a case for Turks and Caicos ex-Premier Michael Missick and 4 of his cabinet ministers to answer following a corruption trial that lasted almost 4 years. The lead prosecutor, Andrew Mitchell, and his team argued that various bribes were received between 2003 and 2009 in relation to 8 developments when Mr. Missick and others were in office. Mr. Missick's party is also alleged to have received $13.5 million over a 7-year period for electoral purposes. The allegations followed a commission of inquiry initiated by the British government in 2008, with much of the allegations involving transactions with foreign developers seeking to build resorts during a period of unprecedented investment. And in other regional news, Haiti's first and only emergency medical helicopter service is scheduled to cease operations this month. HAITI Air Ambulance, an American NGO, has attributed its decision to insecurity in Haiti, adding that service will end on August 15. HAITI Air Ambulance started operation in the French-speaking Caribbean community country back in January 2014 with Air Methods Corporation, AMC, the world leader in medical air transport. In sports, we kick off with football as the Reggae Girls will now battle for a 7th place finish at the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru after suffering a 3rd defeat in the tournament on Saturday. The Jamaicans were humbled 3-1 by Paraguay and the San Marcos Stadium as Jessica Martinez scored a double for the South Americans. The Jamaicans were already out of contention for a semi-final spot after a 3-1 and 2-0 losses to Honduras and Uruguay, respectively. And we look to cricket as India defeated the West Indies in a rain-affected second fixture during the 3-match T20 International Series at Central Broward Stadium in Florida on Sunday. India posted 167 for 5 after captain Virat Kohli chose to bat first. West Indies were kept in check at 98 for 4 off 15.3 overs when the inclement weather intervened. Torrential showers prevented any further play and India were declared winners by 22 runs on the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method as West Indies needed to be at 121 to be ahead on run rate when play was halted. Speaking before the match, West Indies T20 captain Carlos Brathwaite maintained that the current team is the best lineup for the series.
No, I think it's the best team at our disposal. Again, the way I look at it, you look forward to 2020, and if we play 15 players between now and every series leading up to 2020 and 2 or 3 of them get injured, then we have 3 new players or relatively new players in the squad. So every squad that we select is the best squad. Whether it's the best in terms of personnel is up for debate and is, I guess, shared opinion. But we have to look at it as it's the best leading up to the World Cup, putting the best pool of players together and spreading the net as wide as possible so that when we do select our final 15 for the World Cup, that we've run enough players through certain roles and that we're confident enough that they can perform whichever role is asked of them.
And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.